Mustache Tales.
Yeah!
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Mustache Tales. Jay, we have the perfect guest today. He's a friend of ours. He's an old friend. He's not only a stand-up comic, he's an actor. I would say also a legit musician as well.
Is that right?
Brent Morin. Yeah. I mean, well, you know, when he played piano on stage with us, I think that was just a taste of some of his musical. Nice. You've always you played on the show we did together. You played guitar and music as well. And that's so we start every episode with a story. That's actually my story of this episode, Brent, is how we met doing the Netflix show, Merry Happy Whatever, which was from one of the great writers of Everybody Loves Raymond, Tucker Cowley. We put together we had like an amazing all-star cast. One of those casts you could give anyone the ball to. And the premise of the series was it took place around Christmas time. And Dennis Quaid, was the patriarch of this family. And Brent's character was marrying his daughter in the show. And so he was coming into the family, and it was, you know, kind of that traditional trope of like Meet the Parents where Brent was the outsider. It was this very tight Irish Catholic family. And we shot at Radford, which is right in the valley of Los Angeles, a studio there, which is surrounded by a lot of golf courses. So one day after rehearsals, Dennis Quaid turns to me and he goes, "You got your clubs?"
Yeah, this bothered me.
I'm like,
this bothered me.
I'm like, don't have my golf clubs. Shit. Like I could have just gone and played, you know, because the best part is you get done with rehearsals at like 4:35 and you had a couple hours. So every day I brought my clubs to set just in case he asked me again.
Yeah, so did I. He never asked.
So Brent overheard him ask me to play golf one day, and he kind of shot me a look like, Brent goes, "Why didn't he ask me?" I go, "I don't know. Let me just see how the round goes." So I start playing golf with Dennis Quaid after we play all these different courses. And because of the timing we get out to play a 3.5 hour round, and the guy is like a shark. He doesn't stop moving. I mean, when Dennis Quaid plays golf, he gets out of the cart, he hits the ball, he goes to the shot, he's moving very fast. But I found myself playing one round with him, and it was like so dark outside. I was like, we can't see the ball anymore. But he didn't want to stop playing. So it's just he and I out there in the course, and
that's great.
I'm not going to be the one to do it. Well, this ends with a compliment for you, Brent. So I know Brent's a little teed that he hasn't gotten asked to golf with him, but it's a little bit in the vein of the show that he wouldn't ask Brent to play because, you know.
It's also because he didn't think I was a man. Like, I mean, you're a big guy, played football. Like, remember I started bringing around my professional athlete friends? That's the only time he started looking at me. I was like,
bigger and bigger guys.
Griffin, I was at Terry Rhodes. I go, "Come to set." Because this guy, I was blasting the Masters, I think, was on, and I was blasting it from my dressing room, going, "Good shot, Spieth!" Like looking out the door, so he knew, hey man, I'm not this. I'm a man, but no.
You had your Masters shirt on. Well, this is what he said about you, Brent, and I never told you this compliment, and it was a great one. We're standing on the 18th hole, and it's pitch black. He's got like a 25-foot putt that he's trying to line up. I don't know how he's even reading the undulations on the green. And he's standing over the putt, and he looks at me, and he goes, "What do you think of the kid?" And I go, "Brent, I love him. He's great." And he looks at me, and he nods, and he goes, "Yeah, he's got talent. We're going to do well with this show." And then he knocked in like a 25-foot putt in the pitch black.
Wow.
And I knew you never got to play with this, Brent, but I wanted you to know that he thought highly of you.
Well, you know, I had, first off, I tell this story all the time because Dennis, you know, while we were shooting that show, celebrated 100 movies, you know? Wow. And Dennis, to his credit, didn't understand multicam. It's a completely different way of working. And I think he was noticing, because I came from that I was, you know, I would take these risks. Like as a comedian, you just take a risk and you go, "Oh, fuck, well, that didn't work." And then you kind of get hot ears and you walk away. But I would take risks during the table reads. And then when we do the run-throughs, I would try certain things. And I'll never forget, like, he wasn't doing well at a medium he wasn't aware of, but he knocked on my door and he said, "Can you tell me how to do this?" And I was like, Dennis fucking Quaid is asking me for tips? Like right there at 65 or whatever age, body of a 20-year-old. Like right there, I'm like, this guy, this is why he works, because he's willing to ask questions. And I didn't know how to explain it. I was like, dude, it's like music. I mean, I was pulling it out of my ass, but I go, I've never been asked that question. And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, well, you play music, like if you're in a single cam, it's like if you say, what do you mean? You go, what do you mean? But if you're in a multicam, it's like, what do you mean? It's just, there's a rhythm to it. And he goes,
right.
Got it. And by the end, he really started to get it. And I really thought we'd get picked up again because he goes, remember, he was like, wait a minute, we're done?
Yeah.
He's working 15-hour days. Multicam is the best, for any listeners, the best job as an actor ever, because you're just working, especially if it's down to a science. You're working like 11 to 3. That's why Hayes gets to go golf and I get to sit with Adam Rose and drink whiskey, But like literally, it's the best gig. And he goes, we got to do this again. And we were both like, yes,
like a lot. Let's never stop.
He goes, we got to do multiple seasons. He wanted to do like 5 fucking seasons. He did come to the Comedy Store once, though, because I would invite him every weekend. And he came unannounced. I had just done this show at the Improv, and then but it was like a pilot I wrote with Bill Lawrence. So it's called Dead Pilot Society. It's like a podcast. So we just did that. And luckily I was with my NFL friends. So I was actually in a mood of like, I don't want to go do my store spot. But then Catholic guilt. I was like, I'll feel bad. It's 15 minutes, Brent. Go do your spot. So I show up. It's an 11:15 spot. At 11 p.m. we get there. And then the door guy at the Comedy Store goes, hey, Brent, Dennis Quaid is here to see you. And he walks back with the cigarette in the mouth and he goes, my man. And I go, oh, fuck. And he watched my set and I heard his laugh. He's got that kind of maniacal laugh.
Yeah.
And he was telling my buddy Adam Ray, who I was talking about prior, who's doing the Dr. Phil tour and all that stuff. But he was telling him, because Adam was sitting next to him, he goes, this guy's fucking nuts. And then after that, though, I'll be honest, we're a little messed up. He goes, we're going to a party. And I was like, well, Dennis, what? And then I'll never forget, he parked right in front of the Andaz, which is right next to the Comedy Store, because he's Dennis Quaid. You forget, because he kind of disarms you, that it's Dennis fucking Quaid. I was like...
He just throws his keys in the air. Somebody catches him.
They just let him park out front like he runs the Andaz. And we're sitting in his car.
Wait, the hotel right across the street?
Yeah, like right next to the Comedy Store. We're looking at the Comedy Store. We're in his car, and he lights a cigarette, and he goes, you're a lunatic. You're nuts. And then he starts talking about Randy Quaid, who I guess used to do comedy, used to be like in a comedy group. And I guess Randy's name, because like famously at the Comedy Store, if you get past there, you get your name on the wall. So he was talking about like, I haven't been here since 1970 something. And I'm like, wow. And he goes, you're pretty good. You're crazy. You're out of your mind, but you're good. So I took it as a compliment. And then we all drove up to this house. It was some Netflix person. Dennis grabs a guitar and starts playing Gin and Juice on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm with my buddy Kerry Rhodes and one of his friends who was a tight end on the Cardinals. And it's just a bunch of white people and 2 black people. Well, the 2 black guys, Kerry and this guy, go, the fuck's happening, B? And I go, just let it ride. This is a wealthy white party. But I'll never forget this. Like old school actors, I think I can drink. I think I can party. I think I can handle it. We left that party around 2 a.m. He goes, let's go somewhere else. And we're like, oh, well, it's 2. We fucking go to some place and long story short, it's like 4 a.m. at this point, and he's just getting me what he drinks. And then out of nowhere, he just goes, all right, I got to go home. Kid's soccer game tomorrow. And he leaves and he goes, that was Friday. I was hungover till Monday. Like, I've never felt that experience, and I have had some dark turns. And I was like, oh, that's that old school fucking shit. I just love that old school
He never let his foot off the gas. Even in between scenes, he would be in his dressing room playing the guitar, working out riffs. And I remember, because of the rhythm, to your point, of multi-camera being very different, you know, of cinematic, like movie acting, it would, in rehearsals, he would find it. It would be like a train. So it would start kind of clunky. He'd have big chunks of monologues, and he'd kind of be taking his time and finding it. And the writer, of course, it's like all they want to hear is how they hear it in their head. So they'd be like chewing,
especially because it was Tucker's it was Tucker's story. That's the other thing. He's getting his shot. He's got Dennis Quaid and he's got this idiot. You know.
Yeah.
They were
but on tape night, whenever we were recording, it was like nails. He would have it all down. It just wasn't like when you'd start the rehearsal, it wasn't the final product. And the one scene where I realized, like, wow, this is a really special actor, because, you know, you think it's cool just to be working with him, but you're working with him in a different format. It's like playing baseball with Michael Jordan, you know?
That's a great analogy, actually.
But there was a scene where Ashley Tisdale, who played his daughter, is throughout the course of the series, she comes out as gay to this very Catholic family. So it's kind of a public scene in front of the whole family, and she says, "Dad, you know I'm gay," and she's scared to tell him that. And I'm even getting teary thinking about it now. I've never cried on a multi-camera set while doing a tape.
He never cried on our podcast either.
I've never cried ever.
Yeah, what's going on at home, dude? It's okay.
So
you can tell us.
He stands up, and he saved it for when we were doing the actual taping of it. And he stood up and he looks at her across the room, and he says something like, you know, "Oh, sweetie, it's okay. I love you no matter what." But the beat and the moment and what he took, we all started crying.
Yeah.
Like the whole family started crying. I was like, wow, that's
There were two particular moments where, well, one, the first thing was like when Netflix was there and Tucker and, you know, Phil Lewis and everybody like are looking at the camera. I remember Tucker looking at me like, you know, just a scene I'm not in, you know, just in rehearsal, just camera blocking. Tucker's like, "That's a movie star. Look how good he looks on that camera." And I was like, "What am I?" He goes, "You're here." I remember that, but I'm not kidding. There's like a glow to him when he was on camera. And then I remember one rehearsal where he gets mad and he's supposed to storm off. And my character is like, his back is to me. But then in rehearsal, he doesn't. It's like a serious moment. And then he turns and walks away. And I just, no bullshit. I looked in his eyes and I was like I put my hand on my heart, like a soccer mom. I went, "Oh, he's fucking in it." You know, like I was like, wow, he just really just got lost in this rehearsal. So I was like, okay, I got a lot of work to do if I want to get there.
Yeah. He'd give like he'd write us, because we went home for a holiday while we were shooting, and I remember he sent a text to our the cast. We were all on a text chain, and he said, "Have a great break, guys. Remember, now's when you do your homework." And I was thinking, like, what does he mean by that? He's like, all the shit that takes place when you go home to see your family, all the feelings and emotions and problems and things that bother you. He's like, that's the homework. And then you come back to the show and you put that in there. I was like, thank you. What a nugget.
Dude, it's a different generation. Like, I could not fucking believe his stamina. Like, honestly, like in that work ethic, but like I was like I'm obsessed with old Hollywood. So I was just like, I really want to know what it was like to be in the 70s, and, you know, United Artists is blowing shit up and letting you do what you want and like having these moments. But then also, you know, Peter O'Toole has got a bottle of vodka on the red carpet, and, you know, Michael Caine is 2 bottles a day. And I know it sounds dysfunctional, but we're monkeys. We're dysfunctional in this business. And that's part of the allure, is the ability to give up your responsibility to be irresponsible. But the work ethic of these fuckers is insane. So when I come in Monday and I'm still hungover from that night, I'm literally, and he goes, "What's going on with you? Get it together." And he's already got this fucking script memorized. It's like, yeah, that's that, we're going to the mill. We're going to the coal mine. Like,
that's right.
Hey, we might play hard, but we work hard. And it's just kind of that, get over it and let's fucking do this. And I always just was like, I had the same shit when I was a PA at Conan. Like Tom Hanks, Will Ferrell, any big movie star. Conan pulled me aside once because behind the curtain, he goes, "Look at them." And he goes, "They're nervous because they think something can go wrong. And these are the biggest stars." And he goes, "The reason they're still here is because they think something can go wrong. That's why they're looking at notes, And then you get a bunch of, vampires and people that come on the show and they just, they just kind of walk in with a cigarette. They think they're Johnny Depp. They think they're like this shit. And then Conan would always go after an interview like, "Well, we'll never see him again."
Right. Because like those pros that would come in, they know their stories and they have the moments that they're going to hit.
Yeah.
And they deliver them on the panel and it makes the host look good.
Yeah. I mean, they understand that the medium is to entertain the audience at home. And so they come ready with stuff.
Yeah. Notes. And and I was a set PA. So my stage managers, they'd be like, "Oh, we have Pearl Jam. We're good. They'll be here on time and they'll stay, Oh, Foo Fighters. They'll be here early. It's going to be great. Like there wasn't worry. Oh, we got this other band or this other actor. We don't know them. So you keep your eye out. Make sure they get here on time. Make sure this happens. They're cutting their hair in the room and you better knock on that door because we need to do a rehearsal." I mean, 50 Cent, they go, "Oh, we're good. 50 will be here early." Like, it's just this crazy fucking thing of like the most successful people in entertainment are not self-absorbed. They're thinking about other people. Didn't
you have a situation, Brent, where you had to go in and get somebody and they made you drink with them and then...
Oh, yeah. That was Pearl Jam. They didn't have to make me drink with them. I just walked in. Pearl Jam was on the show, and I knock on their door, just go, "Hey guys, we're ready for rehearsal." And music rehearsal was always at 11 a.m. I mean, it was the best gig in the world because you get to watch bands rehearse. And Eddie Vedder's right there. He goes, "Hey man, you want a drink?" And I go, "Well, I'm supposed to." "Come on, man." I went, "All right." And so I'm supposed to. And Jackie Stathis, she was the third stage manager on that show. Hardest working person I've ever met. She was a stickler for time. Her job was to make sure I get these people to her so that she can get them out on time. And she would be working Conan, the BET Awards, fucking VMAs, like every weekend. She never stopped working. So, and she's like a strong Latin woman, like terrifying. And so if it was my other stage managers, it would be a different experience. But the fact that she just fucking knocks the door down and I'm just drinking like Chris Farley and Black Sheep when he's smoking with the band, I'm like, oh, guys, rehearsal, come on. And she goes, "Are you drunk? Let me smell your breath." "I'm not drunk. I'm happy." Dude, I got to drink with Eddie Vedder. I had the same problem with ZZ Top. Like ZZ Top on Tonight Show with Conan. One of the Beards,
Billy Gibbons,
was on. Maybe
Billy Gibbons, Frank Beard, and I can't remember the other one.
The lead guitar player, but he had the full.
That's Billy Gibbons.
So Billy, I have to knock on his, honey wagon, And, oh shit, my laptop's about to die. 1 second.
We did all the technical stuff before with the microphones, Jay, before you hopped on. Literally, like, really deep talk, and we just forgot to plug in the computer.
If I had any fucking tech savvy, I'd be a millionaire.
I think we keep all of this in the show so people know that it doesn't happen seamlessly, Jay. They have to see the behind the scenes.
Sure.
When you go to sit down in a restaurant for a nice meal, I like to know how much effort went into it. I don't just want to get the plate delivered to
Brent,
me.
should there be a cord coming out of the back of that mic?
Back of the mic? Yeah. Wait.
Oh no, I don't know. Is it plugged in? Is my question?
Yeah, it's plugged in. This is going to be a lot of swears and loose. Can you hear me this way? Okay, 1 second. All right, so we're back. So I'm gay. No.
That was a deep story. Are you sure you want to cut that out, Brent? It was inspiring.
Brent, Billy Gibbons.
I'll
tell
tell
us
you,
about
man.
Billy Gibbons, Brent.
Billy Gibbons. All right. So I knock on his door, right? I think it was for Conan's last show on The Tonight Show. It was Conan was going to play with the band, and it was Billy Gibbons, I think Ben Harper. There was a lot. I mean, it was every name you could imagine. So my job was like we didn't have enough dressing rooms. So because Will Ferrell was there, Steve Carell, like all these people were popping up on his last episode. So my job was to handle all the, trailers basically outside the studio. So Jackie Stathis tells me to go, get Billy and tell him, it's time for rehearsal or whatever. So I knock on his dresser and or whatever. And he goes, "Come on in." And I go in and I go, "Hey, we're ready for you. If you want, I'll walk you over there." And he goes, "Well, why don't you take a seat?" Well, I think, Jackie, she's kind of, we should probably get going. No, it's a live thing. He goes, well, "Take a seat. What do you want to be?" Well, it's just it's funny you mention it. And then I just sit down and I start talking to him, and he just hears me vent for like 10 minutes. And then he just pours me a drink. And I go, yeah. And the other thing is, and then he signs a fucking card and gives it to me. And then again, my boss is knocking, going, "Brent," and I'm in there going, "That's what I said, Billy." Oh, hey. No, he had to get ready.
Wait, that was the last. So you were there because that was a real moment in like talk show business history,
television history.
Conan kind of signed off for the last time, and it was that controversy over who was going to get the slot, and he didn't get the slot because of what. Yeah. And he gave that speech. I always remembered. It was been quoted to me about never be cynical. Yeah. It won't serve you. And he said that on the air as he was. Yeah.
There's quite a few things I learned from him, but like I remember those last 2 weeks. Liz Planka, she directed the first 6 years of Late Night, and she was directing The Tonight Show with Leno, and I'm best friends with her stepson. And I was doing construction. I said, "Is there any way you could pass a resume along as a PA?" And she goes, "Well, I don't know enough about you." I was like, "Well, I graduated college. I did this, but her stepson, my friend, is a criminal." So she just
like an actual
all
criminal?
friends are criminals. So she goes, well, yeah. I mean, anybody in the automotive world that builds cars and motorcycles has committed crimes. So, I mean, it's very evident. So I was like, no. I'm the artsy friend. I'm not one of those fucking, rob a car and do this bullshit. She said, well, I have a pool on the top of my hill. She lived up in Burbank Mountains, and she had a pool that they just made, but they needed a deck. So me and this guy, Ted, built that deck in September in Burbank. And we did a good job, and that was enough for her to pass a resume along. So that's how I got a job as a PA for $400. But she goes, it was really Ted. It wasn't me. She told them, "Oh, he's also really good with his hands. I'm not." So then I spent the first 2 months, because Conan, Tonight Show with Conan lasted 7 months. I was there 2 months prior. They made me build all the fucking tables and shit. I was like, it was fucking insane. Anyway, one of my favorite things with Conan was the last 2 weeks of the show, and everybody moved out there and all that shit, and we would have a morning production meeting, but Conan would never be in that meeting because it had nothing to do with him, He just walks into the meeting and he goes, "Look, guys, I know you're depressed and pissed off and miserable, but we have two options. Either we can be bitter and shitty and say fuck everything, or we can make these last 2 weeks the greatest 2 weeks of comedy ever. So I say we do that." And he goes, and spend their money. So those last 2 weeks of the Tonight Show were genius. There was a few moments where Conan just was in the pocket and he would just go off on a rant where the crowd would even like clap and be like, that was the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. And it's like, I took that and I was like, yeah, he could be a fucking prick about this whole situation. But instead he was like, no, let's make this the best 2 weeks ever. And then he goes, and I promise you, I will get another show and you will all have a job. And out of his own pocket, he paid the entire staff. So it actually helped my comedy career when we were canceled, because then I had unemployment and then I had checks from Conan, my whole salary for the year. So I was able to, fucking do 50 open mics and shit and, not work.
And when
that
you
was
were
all
developing, because I've seen you perform stand-up a lot, including your specials. It's not a straightforward delivery that you have. You're telling stories, you're interrupting yourself, you're playing other characters in the story. Were you naturally like that from the beginning, or did you have to like hone that in? Because a lot of times when you're starting, people are stiff. They have got like a premise and then a punchline, and then they die.
Well, stand-up happened. I never wanted to be a stand-up. I actually thought, with the ego I had as a kid, I really was like, I could do all the things. And when I saw Shia LaBeouf, I thought, oh, here's a 7, and he's a lead of a movie. Like, I really was thinking, like, I don't look like Brad Pitt or Paul Newman or any of these fucking guys, but here's a knock-around white guy. Maybe I can be this, But I was in film school. And Seth Winston, he passed away, but he taught at Columbia College Hollywood is where I went, but he also taught at AFI, and he won an Oscar for Best Short Film. And so he had a senior screenwriting symposium is what they called it. And it was supposed to be for the upperclassmen, but I got in as a freshman because he handpicked from scripts. And so I was feeling like I was hot shit. And he would just rip apart. The whole thing was, it's 3 months. You write the first, second, third act, a movie. You pitch the movie, and then you have to fucking write the movie. I'm 19, I think, and he pulls me aside after class, and he goes, I think he got an idea of who I was. He goes, look, I thought he was going to pull me aside to say I'm a genius, because I'm a teenager, oh, I'm Sorkin, I'm Mamet, but no, he pulled me aside and he goes, look, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't want you to take offense, but you're not good looking enough to be a headshot on the desk, and you're not a good enough writer to be a script on a desk. But when you pitch, people seem to listen. I think you should try stand-up, and you might get what you want. So after crying, I went to an open mic the next day at the Laugh Factory, and that's why I started stand-up.
Did you cry in the room, Brent?
No, I held it together. My dad was a coach. You got to bite your cheeks. So, but I was like, it sucks when people call out the shit you're already insecure about,
That's incredible, honest feedback. I mean, you think of how few times people.
But he was right, because then I fucking did get the shit I wanted, and it was like stand-up became. Yeah, because you can relate to this, Jay. Like, as a writer, one of the first things I learned doing stand-up, of course, bombing, was how long-winded I was.
Yeah.
Like, fucking get to the goddamn point. Like, my first acts were like 80 pages. It's like, get to the... we don't need to be in the car for 15 minutes. And stand-up just aggressively gives you that information.
There's a problem that happens with younger, writers and performers, is that they're often the funniest people in their friend group, and they've experienced moments of genius in conversation with their friends, and they naturally start to go, everything I do is kind of genius, so maybe I should show it all to the audience. And they don't have a sense of necessarily where they fit in to the bigger scheme of show business, which is set up the joke, deliver the joke, advance the joke, pay off the joke. That's the fucking game.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm sure you get this shit all the time. Like my older brother was a concert pianist and went to, college for that. So a lot of musical theater majors would live at our house. My parents were teachers, and I'd have to see hundreds of plays and operas and all this stuff growing up, which is great. But like now some of these guys, because I've been on television, I've sold some shows and done things, they'll send their packets, like to me, like ideas of a show. And I'm like, do you want my real feedback? Because I learned from the dude who told me I was ugly and not a good writer. So I just know the red marker, and I've done this with other comedians with scripts. I'll just check something off. I go, beat the joke. This is bad. Don't need this scene. Don't do that. I don't mean to be mean. I'm just like, hey, there's something here. But like in 5 minutes, Jay, you can relate to this. I'm sure. Like people just saying, hey, my son's trying to write, or hey, my, uncle has a script. I'll look at the first page of just a treatment and I go, doesn't work. Not a show. It's like, well, you didn't read it. No, it's not a show. That doesn't make any sense. There's nothing there. I hate that I'm
nice
that direct
to read
now,
that
but
first
it just
page.
is like, there's nothing in here.
I don't mean to be a dick, but I'm just like, I always tell people, they give me a script, I'm like, I will get to it, but I would put like on a timetable, if you can wait 3 to 6 months, then it'll probably work its way up the stack to the point where I finally read it. And when I do read it, I'm going to tell you really what I think. And that's it. And I'm almost definitely not going to make this movie.
I definitely have to steal that from you. Give me 3 to 6 months, because I got all door guys at the Comedy Store send me scripts like, hey, you work with Bill Lawrence. You co-wrote. And I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, I'm going to get to it. The guy parking my car is just like, did you read it yet? And the thing is, I did. It doesn't work. But I can't tell you that.
I was making the Dukes of Hazzard, and my friend Henry was shooting the documentary of it down in New Orleans. And he goes, and we had cut together all these great car chases, and they were like, they were wildly cool, right? What we had, one of these car chases. And Henry was like, hey, do you mind if my buddies, they're in film school, watch this car chase? And I'm like, yeah, bring them to my trailer. That's fine. So they come in, they sit on 3 Alpha boxes, and I show them this chase in Atlanta with all this Led Zeppelin in it, all this fucking great shit. And, I talked to these guys for a little while, and I'm like, what are you guys going to do? They're like, well, we're going to go out to Hollywood and we're going to try to make movies. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, good luck with that. And it turns out to be Danny McBride, Jody Hill, and David Gordon Green. Like that's in my fucking trailer. And I was like, and when they hit it, I'm like, hey guys, remember in my trailer
yeah, that's true. You never know.
Yeah, so they're out there. I mean,
fucking hell, that's incredible.
With respect.
Yeah, that is true, and that's the thing. Like, I don't go to Billy Gibbons, go to Pearl Jam. I was a PA. They treated me good. So when somebody gives me a script, I do want to read it, because I think I didn't have that courage to hand something to somebody, So maybe it's not great, but maybe it is, and you don't know. So give it a shot. The problem is 100% of the shit I got is bad. So it's just, but also, who am I? But like, I do think there's like some fucking like, I'm an introvert pretending to be an extrovert. So I'm not going to go up to, David Mamet and be like, hey, can you read my script? Or, go up to somebody that could help me. I don't have the courage to ever do that. I kind of just like, who wrote this? And I'm in the corner, like at prom without a date, just kind of putting my shoe on gum, being like, I did.
I knew this guy.
Like,
his name's Haven Pell. He carried around a suitcase and he called it a MASU, a mobile assault screening unit. And he made a short film of him doing like all this cool like action shit and acting. And he would carry this briefcase around with him. And if he was at a restaurant or if he saw anyone, he would go right up to them. And he had the headphones too.
What a good idea.
Wow.
And he would say, can you look at
Now.
this? And he would say, we'd be at a restaurant. Yeah, right now. We would be at a restaurant and he'd see someone over in the corner and he'd go, there he is. I'm going to go masu him. We'd be like, no, don't.
Oh,
no. And he'd do the pitch. I'm an actor. I'm a writer. Here's my thing. The guy would go, great. Good luck to you. I'm going to finish my Caesar salad. And he'd go, can you take a look at my stuff? And the guy would go, sure, kid. And he'd go, right now. And he'd open up the briefcase and he'd put it on the table.
Wow.
That's the opposite, right?
How'd it work out, though?
I don't think he's working.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do? Yeah.
I mean, but you got to admire the risk. Yeah. Like, honestly, I will say in film school, the one thing I did learn right away is, and this was taught to me by this professor, Rick Mitz, he goes, if any of your any of your fellow students come up to you and say, I just wrote a genius script, it's probably dog shit. If anybody seems like they hate what they did, it's probably true. Okay. So there's so much delusion. And I realized that people would be like, dude, you read my first act? I go, not yet, because we'd have to read other people's stuff. He goes, it's brilliant. It's the best thing ever written. And it'd be the worst shit I've ever seen. So I just realized that's how I clock it. If somebody hands me something and goes, my friends told me to give this to you. They think I'm good at, I don't know, maybe you can take a look. Then I'm a little bit more inclined to read it than somebody who's like, dude, you want the next Shawshank? Is right. It's like, first off, you're pitching to the wrong person. I don't have any fucking money to make anything.
I know. It's a fine
so
line.
You read
you
scripts,
can't be a sandbagger, but you definitely can't feel overconfident in what you're handing.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's like the difference between an anxiety attack and a panic attack. Like you want some anxiety so that you can actually be productive in your life. But once you start tipping into panic, then all of a sudden you're agoraphobe.
How much are you writing now? Are you writing scripts still?
I am. Yeah, I'm writing 2 movies, and I'm working on a TV show, a multicam sitcom that I actually kind of birthed out of our trip to Sun Valley, and nice. It's starring me and Oliver Hudson, and hopefully we sell it. We play brothers who run a rundown ski lodge, and it's called Downhill. So it's just, we're trying to figure it out. It's a multicam, so that's like the number one thing that's realistic, and then I have another project that I'm working on that hopefully, gets made.
Oliver Hudson's a pretty good golfer.
Yeah, that's what I hear. He's got the swing. But once again, I don't get invited to any golf because apparently I'm built like a European boy. So nobody thinks. I heard he's a lefty and he's got a great stroke. And trust me, I've been going, I like to play. And he goes, yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Great. Fucking say hi to Dennis for me then.
Will you tell Jay, because when I met you, Brent, you were performing at the store and you were in the throes of a friendship with Ed Sheeran. And
boy. I miss him.
Because you guys
how'd
were
you meet
really
Ed
tight
Sheeran?
For a while, right as he was breaking.
Well, when I did a sitcom Undateable that no one can find, I mean, I don't know if that was Chris D'Elia's fault, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, it's just gone. Maybe it was part of a tax incentive thing, like they just bury shows for networks. I don't know. Anyway,
it's an NBC show. I had an NBC
show,
Perfect Couples.
That was a good show.
To be found now. It's a licensing thing.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, they go away.
Yeah, it was actually, and Undateable. We did it. Bill Lawrence, God bless him, gave me a career, and I love him to death. Was doing everything he could to keep the show on the air because I was a PA turned TV star. Rick Glassman, who's a comic, was a waiter at a Larson Steakhouse and then got on the show. Ron Funches was working at a car rental place in Portland. He booked the show. And then Chris D'Elia, we needed a co-lead to me, like a yin and yang. And Chris D'Elia was doing Whitney at the time. So in second position, he did our show. And because I was like, no one can play this role but him. Like he's a modern day Jim Carrey, the way he moves his body.
You guys are all friends to some degree, or some of you were friends?
Oh, me and Rick were neighbors. and great friends. I always say Rick and I were married and Chris was my mistress, because I would go out and do shows with Chris every night. And Chris and my buddy Jason Collins were my two first friends in comedy at the Haha Cafe when I was a teenager. And then me and Chris just ran around doing 50 shows a month. And then I come back and my buddy Rick, we hit it off. I met him through Chris, and then he wanted to move into my apartment building. He did. He moved into my apartment building. He moved next door to me. He asked for copies of my keys. I said, well, let me get copies of yours. He goes, no. And so then he was my Kramer. He looks like Kramer. He was my Kramer. I would just come home and he would be in my apartment, getting pots, pans, taking fucking food out, and if I'd have to tiptoe by his door just to get to my apartment, and he'd go, where have you been? I taped The Voice and you said you'd be home by 1. That's why I was like, you're my wife. I'm out with my mistress.
And all of you got onto the show? How did that happen? Just Bill Lawrence was like, you guys are all funny together?
It happened.
It was a live show, Jay. So the format was like,
at the end it was the show came to fruition because I got
Montreal.
Just for Laughs, which is like Sundance for comedians, and that was my only goal. And when I was working at the Conan show, my stage managers were really cool at being like, Steve Hollander, the main stage manager, God bless this man, was like, I don't want you to ask me if you can go to a meeting or something. Just tell me where you're going and we'll cover you. This isn't your journey. Like, fucking go make it and be a guest. So we'll cover you. So I was leaving all the time to do these shows because I was starting to kill in town. Anyway, I get Just for Laughs. I do New Faces. Out of New Faces, I end up getting a Fox showcase at the Improv. I do that show, and Bill Lawrence's assistant at the time, or his partner's assistant, Jeff Engel, Liza Katz, she, who now is a killer producer, she saw me and told Bill that Bill should meet me. And I was working at Warner Brothers. So my boss, Steve, goes, take the golf cart. It's a half-hour meeting, go. Because after Just for Laughs, I started getting all these meetings. So I got to leave. I went and met Bill. He's brown hair, blue-eyed, loves basketball and musicals. He's from the rich Connecticut. I'm from the poor Connecticut. But we had a lot of similarities. And I just started talking about my Kramer neighbor, who's like Andy Kaufman. I started talking about Chris. I started talking about, all these people. And that night I happened to be headlining a one-nighter at the Improv. And I said, well, come. So he came with his partner and the two assistants, and Rick was opening for me. And the guy hosting, John DeWalt, lived in my building as well. Him and his wife became writers on the show. So it was kind of built out of that. Like, I was like, it took like 6 months. We started playing in his basketball game, and then all of a sudden he's like, I got this show I think you'd be good for. And he had me audition for my role and Chris's role and all that. But then it was built around me, basically. And then he literally called me and was like, hey, do you know like any heavy set black guy with a light voice? And I was a fan of Ron just from YouTube. I never met him. So I said, there's a guy in Portland. And that was just kind of done. And then Rick was so fucking genius. He just doesn't care. Like, when we did the studio test, Rick had headshots that said Rick Glassman, but it was David Schwimmer's headshot. And then we're out in the parking lot in his Civic. We both are making no money, and could change our lives. And I go, dude, if I don't get this, I'm going to need to be with you for a couple weeks. He goes, Brent, if I don't get this, I don't want to see you for a month. And then I go, what are you doing? We got to go. And he goes, just a second. He had a purple magic marker, and he was writing his resume on the back of each headshot. And he walked into the studio test. First off, they gave him to sign his contract, because if you test, for anybody listening, you got to sign a contract before you can test, Rick refused to sign it because he says, I want more money. Which is so Rick, and he just commits to the bit. Like, it wasn't working, so he just doubled down. He goes, I need more money. And I go, what are you doing? He goes, I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing this. I go, what is your problem, dude? You're a waiter. He goes, I just thought it'd be funny, and then she reacted. She didn't laugh, so now I got to commit. So couldn't go in the room for an hour because he committed to a bit about getting more money with no SAG card and no career. And then he walks into the fucking room. No, explains Undateable.
I'm amazed that he didn't get more money out of that. I've been in situations where we're like asking for more money. Just give it to him. Okay, they fucking do it.
Well, my favorite is Peter Roth, who was the president of Warner Brothers at the time. He walks in, waiter Rick, by the way, flip-flops and socks. And he hands the headshots to everyone that he just is David Schwimmer headshots, everybody in the room. And then he has one headshot for Peter. And he goes, and Peter, this one's for you. If you want to turn it around, you can see. And all he wrote on the back was $sign, $sign, $sign. And he goes, just want you to know, if you get in business with me, that's what can happen in your life. Are we ready to start the scene? I was like, this guy's got the fucking role. So cut to Ed Sheeran. Bill was trying to keep the show alive because Bob Greenblatt didn't like it. He didn't like that we were all knockaround guys, except for Chris. And that was it. Like, we had no real names. So, but Bill would like add a dog to the show. He goes, nobody cancels a dog, And then he was like, he lied to Ed Sheeran. It was season 2, the last episode. He told Ed Sheeran, because they were friends somehow. He goes, hey, come play on our hit show on NBC. It's the #1 show on the network. So he goes, and we're going live. And it's right when he had like Thinking Out Loud and like all the hits. Like, it was peak him. And Bill just said to me, he goes, look, Ed's coming here. And I was a fucking huge fan of Ed before that. And I'm like, he goes, look, Ed's coming here. If he asks, we're the #1 show on television. And I go, what? And then we got to improvise. We got to have this fun. Long story short, what happened, I mean, it's a long story anyway. So anyway, we do the live taping East Coast and West Coast. And Bill threw all the scrub guys in it. Minnie Driver was in it. Like the whole Scott Foley, every friend he had just to get the ratings up, he threw into this episode. And the whole thing was, I kick Ed Sheeran out of my bar because I don't know it's Ed Sheeran. And then he tweets, if you see this, cunt, fucking smack him in the face. So Minnie Driver, everybody smacked me. And then at the end, I get waxed. Yeah, on live television. And I had Ed help me, and Chris didn't pay attention. And he waxed me and I kind of ripped my nipple a little bit. So now I'm in between shows before the West Coast taping. And I'm just talking about how much my nipple hurts. And I told Chris not to put the fucking wax on my nipple. But he wasn't paying attention when the wax lady was teaching us in rehearsal because he's addicted to his phone, and we saw that where that got him. But point being, Ed walks in, he goes, mate, you want a shot? And I go, oh, no, I can't do a shot. He goes, come on, mate. And I went, all right. So I go to his room, and he has 4 Don Julio 1942 shots laid out. So I take a shot with him.
Already poured
with the lime on top of him. Like, he's like his music. It's sensitive. You're taken care of, but it's like one light on. And then he's got like some, guys who look like extras from Snatch that are just kind of there, security. And so I take one shot with him and I go, nice. And he goes, is that all you're going to do? And I went, well, we got a
live
show.
television show.
He goes, yeah. He goes, and he's like, oh, mate, I'm already 5 in. And I'm like, and then I hear the Snatch guys going, and I'm like, fucking hell, I'm getting alphaed by an acoustic artist. So I went, yeah, I'll take another shot. So I'm a little buzzed in the second show, but by the time Ed has to be on the show, he's fucking wasted. And he comes out and he's supposed to smack me and hug me in the second, the West Coast taping, but he was drunk enough that he asked Rick, my neighbor, the Kramer, he goes, would you mind if I kissed him? And Rick said to him, he goes, are you kidding? That's his wheelhouse. Because I have kissed Rick on television, Andrew Santino. I've kissed a lot of guys. God rest his soul. My little brother, Gay, was just like, you've kissed so many men on national television. I go, all right, don't be homophobic. You're gay. So he kissed me. First thing he said when he kissed, well, 2 things happened. Right when he kissed me on national television, he goes, I'm not going to be able to work with a lot of rappers. And the second person I hear is Chris D'Elia goes, congratulations, you're famous now. He goes, I wish he'd fucking kiss me. That's what he said. So out of that, we built a friendship. I met the girl I really liked, and I'm driving with this woman that I'm in love with, and I see like 3 weeks later, the Hollywood Bowl, I see Ed Sheeran. So I said, oh, fuck, Ed Sheeran's playing the Hollywood Bowl. And she goes, yeah. And I go, I wonder if we can go. Well, how? Yeah. I go, I kind of know, Ed. Because that night we got fucking rip shit wasted. I woke up to a text that just said cunt, and it was from him. And a photo of him dragging my body across the floor. Like, he floored me. And anyway, I hit him up. This is what I love about guys like him, and I want to adopt this for my shows. I went, hey, Ed, it's Brent. And he goes, how many?
How many?
Like, just get to the fucking point. How many tickets? I go, 2. He goes, I got you, mate. See you tonight. Dude, he gives me tickets, front row center. Couldn't look cooler with my now ex, but the coolest date night ever. I walk up. I don't know how to fucking do this. And I told her there's probably a big chance that we don't have tickets. Right. There's no way he remembered at the Hollywood Bowl me, this little guy. So I walk up to the box office and I go, tickets for Brent Morin. Who left them for you? Ed Sheeran. I know the concert. Who? No. Ed left them. And then this was a little questionable. I should have fucking suspected this. My girlfriend, beautiful, goes, no, honey, for the artist, you have to go to the side to get the tickets. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, how the fuck do you know that? So we walk up that hill and we get the tickets right there. I really should have clocked that. How do you know how to get tickets? Oh, you're gorgeous. That's how this has happened to you. You're not excited. I'm sitting front row with a fucking Hawaiian H&M shirt or whatever, a Target shirt I had. I don't know what the fuck I was wearing. Ed plays the concert. It's unbelievable. Afterward, I said, hey, dude, that was great. If you want to fucking hang, I'm heading to the Comedy Store. And he goes, well, I'm staying at the Andaz. I said, great. Come over to the Comedy Store. And he goes, well, I'm not drinking tonight. I'm going to dinner with my ex-girlfriend. I said, so you are going to drink. So hit me up after that falls apart. I go to the Comedy Store. I'm hanging out, not expecting to hear from him. He texts me like 1 a.m. Hey, mate, you still drinking? And I went, didn't go well, huh? And he goes, no, at Saddle Ranch. And I said, well, come to the Comedy Store. We got to, yeah. I said, come to the Comedy Store. Come to the back bar. He goes, no, mate, I'm with my crew. His crew guys he drinks with and hangs with. And he goes, it's like 15 people. And he goes, but they kept the back open for us. And I went, all right. So I walk over there with my girlfriend, who's a huge fan. First thing he says, he goes, why did you wear that shirt? That's all I fucking saw when I was on stage. What is this shirt? And I went, I don't know. And he goes, can I talk to you, mate, real quick? And like where that Dobrik's Pizza is, used to be like an AT&T store. He takes me back there and he just goes, he's like his songs. He goes, mate, I just don't know.
It's emotional.
You know, I went to dinner and I just thought maybe she was the one. Maybe she changed. And I went, hey, it's okay. And I go, what do you think about this girl? I honestly, I've just been kind of treading water in relationships. And I finally actually have this feeling again, like I'm in high school. He goes, mate, you got to hold on to that feeling. She's great. She listens to you. She loves you. I said, so should I say we should be girlfriend, boyfriend? He goes, mate, always fall in
love. Two guys who kind of know each other giving each other bad advice.
I love the advice of fall in love. Go all in, write the poetry, just act like
just two emotional Irish folk with a drinking issue talking about love and loss. And then I had a flight that night. I had to go, or not that night, the next morning, like 6 a.m. to go do a gig. So I just stayed up and I'm just texting with him about love and loss and all this shit. And then he invited me he goes, do you want to go to, what do you say? TS's place in Rhode Island on the 4th. I found out later that was Taylor Swift's house. She does a 4th of July party. Yeah. And he goes, you want to go to TS's place with me as my +1? And I went, yeah. And then I passed out next to an Asian woman and I sleep aggressive. And I guess I accidentally hit her in the throat when I was sleeping. But then, I never heard from him again after that. So I miss Ed. I miss him. I love him. And yeah, we had a romantic 2 weeks, I think.
If you're listening, Ed, it was a real connection.
Yeah. Edward, please.
I was in my 20s and I was dating a girl. She was very attractive. We had been together for a while. We were in Las Vegas, and Sting was performing. So I thought, this is, how do you go wrong with Sting? I got Sting tickets really close to the stage. I thought I was making myself look good. He sang to her, just her, pretty much the entire show. to the point.
So you're clocking that?
To the point, I'm watching Sting watch her, and I'm looking at her, then back at Sting, like shrugging my shoulders, like, I'm right here, man.
Before we get into the vouching, can you tell me about Busboys of the Spade and the Theo Von film?
Oh yeah, that was fun. I don't know. Hopefully I make the edit, but
that's, you guys shot this in LA recently, right?
Yeah, during the fires and everything. It was really cool because Theo's been a friend of mine for a long time, and he wrote this movie with David, and it's basically two busboys who really want to be waiters, and then they end up in a horrible situation just because they want to get their own restaurant. They end up trying to traffic drugs, and I play the Department of Transportation guy, which I didn't know was a thing. I was just called dot agent, and because they're trafficking, I guess I thought I had a place in it, but I'll put it this way. I don't know what the movie is going to look like, but I will say that it felt like we were doing
full-on comedy.
A comedy, an actual fucking comedy. Like Super Troopers.
Oh, like that.
Or like fucking, Anchorman, or, like everybody. Yeah, you just fucking, you put in the funniest people. Jay Farrow's in it, like, Tim Dillon's in it, Bobby Lee's in it. I mean, it's just the funniest fucking people, and you let them loose. Because we don't get to do that. And I know that Spade and Theo had to fund it themselves, even though Theo's selling out arenas.
I direct films and single camera television, but I went in to take a look at how they do multicam. And I was, at the end of it, my agent's like, so you're going to hire him? He goes, well, he's more of a movie and single cam guy. We don't know if he can handle multicam. And I'm like, what? Or commercials. So like, I don't know if he can do the commercial. What?
Fucking ridiculous.
So it's just until Theo
it's ridiculous.
Vaughn, proves himself in that medium film, which he will in this movie. Then everyone's gonna be like, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's why I tell comics that. Yeah, I literally was, because it's inherent in any entertainment form, especially stand-ups are bitter. It's like, I want this movie to succeed so we can make micro-budget fucking comedies again for streaming networks that actually realize, hey, people want to laugh. It's not a fluke that comics are selling out arenas, yet you won't buy a comedy as a movie or a TV show. That's a fucking ridiculous.
They'll own it. They finance it.
It is. Like, it really, because they did it themselves 100%. And to go on that multicam shit, I was a PA and then did a multicam, and then everybody would say, can he do single? And my reaction to that was, like I set up 4 cameras in my fucking basement growing up. Like, I did it because it was what was given to me. Yeah. I could do your single fucking cam, and you would fucking shine. If you're a stand-up,
I know.
Multicam directing is for that. It's for stand-ups. It's theater. It's ridiculous. It's I just think they're all scared. I truly think, like, and I'm not even trashing them. Like, you go to business school, you get hired at one of these companies, you got to go to a boardroom meeting and you got to pitch something, or, hey, I like this project. You need to have some security behind it so you don't get fired. Like, I kind of like, this is how I keep from punching a wall, is like, empathetically, maybe what they're dealing with is like, hey, rookie, you don't get that chance to say this. Like, it only takes a few people to be brave. And I don't think a lot of people have that kind of, I don't want to say courage, but that kind of, carte blanche to be brave.
Yeah, it's got to be blessed. Somebody who's done it before has to be like, that's the guy. Like Bill Lawrence.
I know what I'm talking about.
Come in and be like,
yeah, it becomes earned in a way.
Yeah.
But you got to take that fucking risk first.
You got to have somebody who's done it before give you the Godfather nod, and then.
Yeah, and guess what? If you fail, fuck it, you tried. Like, that's a stand-up bit. I mean, fuck, I bombed so bad the other day with a new bit, and I really didn't know where I was going with it. And I just got off stage and went, whoops. Well, took a risk. I got a wildly fucking political and racist somehow, and it was about a dog eating. So that's that got away from me. It's like, are you okay?
Well.
Nope, not okay. Won't be okay for 24 hours, but we're gonna figure this out.
This is the part where we vouch now, Brent. I'm gonna vouch. I have an app called Vouch Vault. It's basically like Instagram of recommendations. That's the concept. So it's just like, like if you were to follow me, you'd see all the different movies and television and music and whatever comics that I like. So I'm going to vouch for this new Counting Crows album, which, it's called, I'm sorry, I have it here, Butter Miracle, The Complete Sweets. And the first song is with Love from A to Z, and it fucking rocks. And it's the Counting Crows is there. We had Adam Duritz on last week as on our podcast, and he's an old friend of mine. But this album is I don't know, it's really good. It's really good, and I'm really excited about it.
That's great. I just didn't know they were still together. It's great they're doing a new album.
Well, they because of Duritz's sort of oddballness, they sometimes will take like 7 years between albums because he's like, I'm figuring it out. Because he's very much one of those guys who's up in his head. But they're still together. They're touring. They're doing a world tour now.
I listened to it before we talked to him and after, and I play. It's so cool to see a band they've been around for 30 years and they still sound like he kept his sound. And it's real musicians, not just someone going for a moment. I'm going to vouch for a show that I think by now a lot of people have been watching, but I knew it was great like after the second episode, and that's The Studio on Apple TV. I love it because it reminds me of the Larry Sanders Show. It's a behind the scenes of studio executives in movie making and everything that they have to deal with to get a product done. But it outperforms because it looks so great and cool. It's fucking great. Did the second episode. I thought they really set the bar high, and Ike has been one of my oldest friends. He's totally incredible in it, and
he destroys in that show.
And it's really hard to be, because they did one episode which seemingly looks like it takes place all in one take, and there's a lot of stuff happening. The organization and so many crossings and just it's hard to keep. It's like a true performance for an actor to go wire to wire on that stuff where you're kind of like acting with the camera and you can't drop lines, you can't flub, you can't start over in the middle of your take because it backs it up an hour because everything has to be reset.
Yeah.
And they pulled it off, and it's a great show. And the best part about the show, not to ruin it, but it's really a celebration of movies, and it's a TV show.
Yeah.
So it's it's done its job that way, and it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. It's not parody. I wouldn't even call it satire. I just think it's kind of like an homage of the studio system, and you kind of empathize with studio people in that show, and then also the ridiculousness of IP, is expressed, but it's not like fuck you. It's more like fuck us.
Yeah, it makes you feel bad for all the things that they've had to deal with.
Yeah. And then just the us's of the world. But okay, you know what? If based off that, I'm going to vouch for something else that I'm sad that just ended. I'm going to vouch for Mobland with Tom Hardy and Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren. That show, just like The Studio, when they both just ended recently, I'm like having serious withdrawal because I'm like, I want more. It's unbelievably acted. It's the best I've ever seen Pierce Brosnan. It's so good. It's we've seen the Italian mafia, but this is based off the English form of mafia, basically. And it's just two families that are butting heads in a power struggle. It's like almost Game of Thrones and Yellowstone meets Goodfellas. It's got this fucking vibe. And everybody in the show is so fucking good. The person you're supposed to hate, you fucking hate, which means that person's doing a good job. Because if I saw that person in the street, I'd be like, fuck you. But, well, Brent, that's an actor. It's like
I'm watching the show. I love the show. think your time with Ed Sheeran has helped you understand the show, because Tom Hardy's one of my favorite actors, but I can barely understand anything he says ever, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, dude, you got to watch subtitles. Watch it with subtitles. Because there's a lot of Guy Ritchie produced it.
And they're talking like that. You're like, what is he saying?
Down at the patch. Like, what the fuck is a patch? He's working with the grass. Working with the grass. What's going on with the lawns?
The best actors always mumble. If you can pull off a mumble, you just look so cool, dude.
I gotta be honest with you. I didn't even realize Pierce Brosnan was fucking Irish until this show. His Irish accent, I'm just used to him as James Bond, but he is a fucking kook in this show.
I think he did that movie In Bruges, right? You ever see that movie, In Bruges?
That was Brendan. That was
I did, but that was Colin Farrell and
Brendan Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson.
What's his name?
Yeah. Okay,
Brendan
that's
Gleeson.
Good too.
That's a great movie
All
too.
right.
I'll vouch for that movie as well. That's a great
Martin
one. Great
McDonagh.
soundtrack.
Well, thanks, Brent. That was fun. Enjoyed it. Loved it.
Of course.
Mustache Tales. Yeah!